This is the absolute definition of hype for me. Hello, it is Gomi, and it is time for UFC 281. We are going to be looking at the fight that I am by far the most hyped for. Even though Izzy's my number one, and I do really like Alexander Pereira, I'm sorry. My number two, Dustin Poirier versus probably my number five. I don't know. Honestly, 3 to 7 is kind of jumbled, but I really like Michael Chandler a lot too. He's probably one of my top 5 favorites, borderline top 5. And they're clashing. They are meeting. Finally, the Just Bleed square. The quadrifecta of violence is being completed. Who is that? That is going to be Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Chandler. Those 4 epitomize Just Bleed. They are brawlers, they are scrappers, and they don't have bad fight amongst each other specifically. Fight of the year 2021. Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje. Fight of the year 2019. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. 2018. Fight of the year 2017. Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Fight of the year, in my opinion, 2020. Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier, but that's neither here nor there. They just put on amazing fights. They absolutely put on amazing fights. These are just brawlers. If you are coming here to MMA, UFC, watch a fight, this is the fight you want to turn into. And it's one of the many reasons why the lightweight division is, in my opinion, the best division. Because they have high-profile, amazing brawls like this. Then they also have high-profile, amazing technical fights like Islam versus Charles. It's just such a good division. Enough about this. I'm going to go on longer for this fight than I did for probably even the main event. Let's get into it. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. This is going to be a lightweight belt taking place at 155 pounds. Look at the tail of the tape. Dustin Poirier is going to be 33 years of age. A record of 27 wins, 7 losses. He has 15 KOs, 6 submissions. 5'9" in terms of height, fighting out the southpaw stance with a 72-inch reach advantage. Only half an inch, though. Only half an inch. A takedown average of 1.44. 54.79% accuracy. Significant strike accuracy. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. And he's going to be a favorite at minus 200. Boasting significant wins over, look at this list, look at this laundry list. Conor McGregor twice, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway twice, Eddie Alvarez. Honestly, they fought twice, but the first fight was a no contest. In fact, actually, I just realized that's not on there. I should have put the no contest. He has 1 no contest. Then going against Michael Chandler, Iron Michael Chandler. 36 years of age, 23 wins, 7 losses. Same amount of losses, which is interesting. 11 KOs, 7 submissions, 5'8" in terms of height, orthodox stance, 71.5-inch reach, a takedown average of 1.83. Now that's surprising to me. I want to comment on that. I wonder if they're only taking his UFC stats, because if you watched his days of Bellator, he's got pretty good takedowns. Like, he has a good bit of takedowns. In UFC, though, not so much. Not so much. He's really leaned into his striking exclusively. And to be fair, it's been working very well. A significant strike accuracy of 36.84%. He is a plus 170 underdog. Wow, that's surprising. People do not have a lot of faith in Michael Chandler. He has significant wins over Eddie Alvarez, Dan Hooker, and I threw in Benson Henderson as well too, because I feel they can mimic a little bit of Dustin Poirier, to be perfectly honest with you. Actually, I should put Benson Henderson twice, but regardless, I digress. This is gonna be a great fight. The only way it's not gonna be a great fight is if we get some freak injury, which honestly, how the UFC's been going, wouldn't surprise me. we come in there and Dustin freaking breaks his or tears his MCL, or he has an issue with his hip, or Mike Chandler breaks his ankle or some stupid. I hope that doesn't happen, and I just hope it's violence. I just hope it's violence from start to finish. Let's go a little bit more into Dustin and his tools and his avenue. I'm going to dial right back into significant strike accuracy. Dustin Poirier is a sniper. He is not only just a sniper, but he is a volume guy too. Look at this. Look at this stupid stat. Look at this stupid statistic. 3,204 significant strikes attempted, and he lands 51% of those. Oh my god. Also, the statistic I pulled up is not accurate off UFC's website. Forgive me, I'm pulling them off multiple sites. Regardless, oh my god. He is a volume guy while also being a massively accurate fighter. Boasting a lot of standing strikes, but a lot of clinch strikes as well too. He's got a good clinch game, he's got a good standing game, and even though he's a southpaw, it's actually a little bit low key that he's actually switched stance too. He only switches stances during his flurries where he mixes between southpaw orthodox because he squares off, but also he has a really good shift combination where he ends the combo shifting to orthodox, and he leads with a power right hand, which is very impressive because he is dominant left hand. That's how he basically knocked out Justin Gaethje. He rocked him with that left hand, and he knocked him out by just beating the life out of him. A nice thing we have about this fight is we actually have a lot of data between the two via the avenue of common fighters, because both of these guys have actually fought against the same guys: Eddie Alvarez, Dan Hooker, and Justin Gaethje. Each of them, they have fought. Now, Michael Chandler has beaten Eddie Alvarez and Dan Hooker, but he did not beat Justin Gaethje. Now, Dustin Poirier beat all three as well. Granted, he went to a decision with Dan Hooker. There's a lot of different X factors into that. First off, a lot of people are going to go, will Chandler starched Hooker and took him out in the first round? What he's going to do the same thing to Dustin. Dustin went to a decision with Hooker and almost got finished in the second. You're correct, but that was prime Hooker, power Hooker. He still had a lot left into him, because if you look at everything since the Dustin Poirier fight, June 7th, 27th, 2020. By the way, that is my favorite fight of all time. Love that fight. Go watch it if you didn't. He then had a somewhat quick turnaround against Chandler. Dustin was actually the main event of that fight card. He fought Conor McGregor. He got starched. Then he had a tune-up fight against Nasrat Haqparast. But here's the thing. Nasrat just lost his mother and took this fight on a week's notice, just like Dan did. Make no question. Then he fought Islam Makhachev. I forgive that. Look what Makhachev did to Oliveira. Then he fought Arnold Allen. Granted, depleted at featherweight, but it doesn't excuse it. Like, he looked bad. But this all stems from the Poirier fight. All of it. If you watch the aftermath of that fight, Poirier did some damage. Poirier, he took something from Dan that will never be returned. He took something from him. And then Chandler just took his soul. Now, let's look at the Eddie Alvarez fights. The Eddie Alvarez fights. Oh, wow. His last fight in the UFC was against Poirier. Wow. Poirier basically did really good. Eddie got him some advantageous grappling positions where Eddie was on top, but his lack of judgment and poor fight IQ and just screwing himself over and landing that 12-6 elbow allowed Dustin to get up. Dustin timed a perfectly timed knee, left hand, and went into his signature diamond rush and just blitzed him, which is the same way Michael Chandler beat him as well. So just looking at it, common things from Dustin Poirier is his excellent boxing. You can see by his significant strike accuracy of 54%. He has excellent head movement, excellent striking, excellent combinations, volume. He's just insane. What he does is the second he smells a little bit of weakness, he swarms you, he blitzes you, he takes you out. He is a finisher, absolutely. Those 15 KOs say a lot for a volume striker. It's rare you go decision with Dustin. It really is. Make no question about that. How Hooker went to decision with him, I don't know. That was an amazing fight though. What are Dustin's avenues of victory? Of course, it's catching Chandler, because that's the thing. Chandler has been caught before. Chandler can be caught, and we've seen it in his fight against Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira just caught him with a simple left hook. Simple left hook. You know who's got excellent right hooks and left hooks? Dustin Poirier. Dustin has some good hooks to him. He's got some good accuracy. I could see him sleeping Chandler. I don't think it'll be easy, because we saw Justin Gaethje was not able to put out Chandler. Granted, Justin Gaethje has negative fight IQ, which screws him over, but that's still something. The fact that Chandler is able to go toe-to-toe with him for 15 minutes, that was a brutal brawl, one of the best fights of all time as well too. That says a lot about Chandler's chin. Don't think his chin is nothing, but his chin can be crumbled against a guy of high accuracy. Make no mistake as well too, Charles Oliveira. I noted it too. He had very high accuracy as well. He has very high striking accuracy. Just he has awful striking defense. Awful striking defense. That's why he got dropped multiple times against Dustin Poirier. But Dustin Poirier has actually pretty good striking defense. Not the best. He is hittable. 4.28 significant strikes to Zord per minute. He is hittable, but he does have a 54% significant strike defense. That's good. But Michael Chandler, he takes more hits, less fights. His accuracy, his significant strike defense is less. Honestly, that's going to be Dustin's main way of victory. Also, the guillotine is always an option. He loves jumping the gilly. He doesn't do as much, and it is honestly not successful. He used to be really good back in the day with his Darce choke. That Darce choke was vicious, but he went away from it. He went away from it, and I don't know why he did. I really wish he would either go back or at least threaten it or implement it, because that used to be such a good weapon he would use back in the day. His grappling as well too. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yet he just does not use it. He just does not use it at all anymore. Because back in the day when he fought Max Holloway, he got Max Holloway with a vicious arm triangle and arm bar, I believe. Oh, I always remember it was violent. It was violent. Almost broke his goddamn arm, honestly. He's, like I said, like his submission game is there. This is what leads into Michael Chandler and his avenues to victory. I'm going to ignore his main avenue first and just talk about into it because it feeds into my point about Dustin. Michael Chandler has better wrestling. Dustin Poirier's main issue isn't necessarily his jiu-jitsu. Even though he's been submitted, it's not his jiu-jitsu that's a problem, it's his wrestling. His wrestling is not good, and I feel that could stem from his poor hips. Because as you know, he does not have the best hips. That's why he has that squared off stance. That's a very bad stance. It honestly is, but he has learned to make it work. He uses the strength in his back to create leverage, and also he keeps his head off the center line. So that squared stance is normally bad. He makes it work, modified with it. But the fact he has to use that square stance is due to his poor hips. And that leads you extremely susceptible to takedowns. Michael Chandler, granted, he's moved away from it, he has not abandoned it. We saw this, how he took out Tony Ferguson, and he took Tony Ferguson down, and that was something that he used very much to his effect. Granted, it was at the end of the round, didn't do that much, but still something to mention. And then we all know how that fight ended with Tony Ferguson. It ended with one of the most violent knockouts of all time. I saw it live. That was amazing, but scary because of how quick it was. It was a front kick, also showing Chandler, he has some poor fight IQ moments, a la the Gaethje fight, but he's still smart to be able to throw that. He saw the read, he saw Tony was having his hands low, and he saw he was able to shoot that right down the middle, and it just took him out. It just took him out, which is indicative of Chandler and his main avenue of winning, power. Dustin doesn't get knocked out anymore. Dustin honestly does. A lot of people are going to say, oh, Dustin's got a glass jaw. And I see that all the time. This is why I point out to them. Let's look when Dustin was last knocked out. Where the hell is it? Oh, here. 2016. Yeah, I got knocked out. Flash, boom, whatever. In 2016. Come on. That was 8 years ago. 8? Yeah, 8 years. 6. That was 6 years ago. Please ignore me. I can't do math. That was 6 years ago. You really think that's the same Dustin that's going to get knocked out now? Really? And then let's look at even before that. 2014. Come on, guys. Dustin's main issue is submissions. Getting submitted. But here's the thing. I don't think Chandler has a good submission game, to be honest with you. Yeah. 7 subs. Yeah. But that was back in the day. Those were simple rear naked chokes. They were not anything crazy. Well, actually, that's what got Dustin his last two losses, actually. Ignoring that. He doesn't have a huge submission threat, and I don't think Chandler wants that. Chandler wants the flashy knockout. Chandler wants violence. Chandler wants to bleed. And that's going to be his downfall. He's going to go trying to search for the knockout, which he very much can. Make no mistake. He could absolutely hit Dustin, and he could rock him, and then he could go in for the finish. Dustin has been rocked before. Justin Gaethje rocked him. Max Holloway rocked him. Yes, Max Holloway did. And Connor clipped him a few times. Didn't do much on it, but he did clip him a few times. So make absolutely no mistake, Chandler's power is a major factor in this fight. I don't think Chandler should be as much of an underdog as he is, to be honest with you. Like, these main 3 fights have some pretty, well, not Izzy Pereira's a lot closer, but Esparza and Zhang and Dustin and Chandler, I feel the odds are too skewed. They're way too skewed towards who people want to win. Don't get me wrong, I agree with who people want to win. I'm rooting for Dustin, I'm rooting for Zhang, but don't dismiss their opponents. Chandler has plenty of avenues to win in just the 2 avenues I mentioned, just because of how effective they are. His power and his wrestling. He could absolutely use that to take out Dustin Poirier. We saw him absolutely abuse his explosive power when he caught Hooker with, I believe it was a left. I think it was a left that he just clipped him with, and Hooker dropped. Dustin could not drop him. He did some serious damage to him, but Chandler dropped him, and he just went in for that finish, because Chandler at his heart is a massive finisher too. Some things to mention though. Some good examples of Dustin Poirier's excellent boxing that I didn't mention was his fights against Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is actually a good example of a Chandler minus the wrestling, because Chandler's going to have, his main thing is going to be a big right hand. Conor's main thing is a big left hand. And Dustin was able to use calf kicks and slip out the way and just blitz him. Michael Chandler did employ the calf kicks very well against Justin Gaethje, and you saw the damage he did. But I think Dustin Poirier is going to be a lot smarter with those calf kicks than Justin Gaethje was. I feel he's going to check him more. He doesn't check kicks a lot, I'll be honest with you, but I feel in this fight he's going to know to check those kicks. And just on the feet, I feel he has more opportunities and more chances to just blitz him just with that superior accuracy. I do think it's going to be a just bleed. I believe it's going to be a just bleed. Honestly, if we didn't get the amazing Yeti versus Glover fight, this would probably be my pick for a potential fight of the year. It might be the second best fight of the year. I don't know. All I do know is violence. Violence. That's what we're about to see. Violence. Ooh. My official prediction, Dustin Poirier by decision. I don't think he's going to be able to take out Chandler. I think Chandler's going to stick it out, tough it out, but I think it's going to be a long night for Chandler. Some other benefits, the fact that it's a 3-round fight, that does benefit Chandler with his explosive nature, but don't count out Dustin. Please don't. He is a beast. He's the diamond. And I think this is just going to be a good fight. Yeah. As long as we don't get cursed by the MMA gods and give us some stupid injury, this should be a battle. Well, let me know what you think of this fight, please, down in the comment section. Like the video, please give a like, please subscribe. This is going to be a war. This has been Gomi. Bye-bye.